Hello everyone, I hope you guys are having a great day. So for today's video, we are going to be continuing how to learn and explore openings. So recently we got quite a few London games, so I was pretty happy about that. So, okay, so we have D4. So we're gonna get a 22-55, a relatively strong opponent. And we're gonna play the English Rat Defense. And I'm gonna push d5, which here we can actually here what I'm doing is essentially transposed back to the King's Indian, except that we're actually much better in this case. Why? Because we haven't played knight f6, so we can execute our f5 plan really early. We could have played knight e7 actually, but knight f6 also works. So here I think we could play queen takes, at least to knight h4. But this time I want to play g takes. Going for a little bit more risky move. However, it opens up the G file, and because we already play, because we play knight f6, there's no such thing as a queen h5 check. Okay, so queen e2. Now, since we play queen c8, which is probably not the best move. Um, it can be a little bit annoying. I think I'm gonna take the risk and castle here. Okay, our opponent just castled. Then this is pretty easy because okay, but now I have to be aware of this idea of knight g5 into knight e6. White could have executed a while ago, but decided not to do it. So we gotta play a6, stopping knight g5 because again we don't have a light square bishop. So I think much earlier in the game, maybe we should have just straight up taken with the G pawn and keep our light square bishop just to like protect it. And now we have the initiative of having the open G file, and sure our king is also on the same side. However, so knight h4, knight g6. We're gonna play king h7, just preventing it. And here f4. Is f4 a scary move? Yes and no. Yes, because f4 threatening to open the file, so that our f5 pawn is gonna be lost, right? So that's the point. So maybe we just play this. If we play this, our opponent might actually play b3 bishop b2, which long term isn't the best. But I think that keeping the f pawn here is probably the better plan to do so. Maybe with knight h4 we could just play f4 and not care about knight g6 at all, because knight g6 only attacks with rook and we just move rook to f7. That just kind of helps us. But here, since we allow white to play f4, maybe we adjust our plan a little bit. Okay. So king to h1. I don't know if our opponent is. I don't know if white is trying to play g4. It's not possible right now, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, what we can do instead is play knight a6 and then go knight to c5 because this square is essentially free. But the question is, are we playing a5 first? Because in fact, we don't even have to. Why? Because after knight c5, we now have the d3 square to jump in since we played e4 earlier. So let's play knight a6 first. And the good thing about this move, it not only prevents b4, but also if bishop e3 happens, in which then we can't really play knight c5 because the bishop just snatch it off, and uh, and now we give white a potential pass pawn, which I don't really like, and also our pawn in the queen side just looks a little weird. So after bishop e3 here, we can jump to b4, and also we can jump to d3. Now our opponent is playing knight to b5, and our opponent is essentially doing the same thing. Okay, our opponent is doing the same thing, which is to play knight d4 and then attack this. Okay, and is actually a very annoying plan. So because our plan here is actually not the strongest, to be fair. And this is probably why knight to f6 is not like the best move. If our knight is on east, now here we could remaneuver the knight from f6, because if the knight is on e7, what it essentially does is protecting these two key square of f5 and g6, and it also opens up this diagonal, and it prevents the knight to go on d4. So I think since it does a lot, we're gonna play knight g8, just rerouting it. We definitely misplaced it earlier, because when we played knight f6, I guess the plan that it did was to stop queen h5 check, but the check is by itself is actually not that scary because we just move it away. Okay, so bishop e3 is play. Now, okay, now there's bishop to d4. So this is getting a little bit sketchy. But I think we are going to be fine if there's a bishop trade happening here, you know? The question is, do we play knight b4 into knight d3 right away? We can, and we should, because I think this might be a little harder to execute if we don't play it now. But the problem is, after knight b4, there's bishop d4 or knight d4. I think in which case we're just gonna play this rook f7 and then rook takes g7. I think we're gonna just execute this plan here. Knight to b4. This position does look a little bit scary. Yeah, so bishop to d4, which is very much expected. Now, we don't want to take. Remember, we don't want to take. Why? Because if our opponent is going to trade, we might as well just let them trade. Let them trade. We don't need to do it. So, and what happens if we trade? Well, we allow the knight to go back here with tempo when we actually don't have to do that. So definitely it's going to be rook to f7, and we are going to take with the rook. And now this happens naturally. And here we are going to play knight e7. And here, what knight e7 does, protect us very well. So knight e6 is happening here. And now we're going to play... Oh, rook to g4 is a bad move. Oh, that's not a good move. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, rook g4 is a blunder. I should finish talking before I play. Yeah, now I just blundered that. Um, Wow, and I actually don't have any square. Oof. Uh, oh my goodness. What did I just do? I'm playing two. I'm playing quick for some stupid reason. Oh. And we actually lose because I don't think we can continue playing this. So okay, let's just resign and we're gonna go over that moment really quickly. Why? Yeah, so first of all, I think we should go over the whole game. This game is over really quickly. Um which sucks, you know. But here F5, I know F5 is the best move, and you could definitely play it. However, the problem with this move is that it runs to E4, and it's still as almost approximately the same in terms of evaluation, right? But it leads to a much more complicated, much more complicated position, unless you don't want to protect it. But the problem is that if you take and now knight c3, right? If knight f6, if you don't really protect it, white is going to replace it with a piece, and a piece on e4 is pretty good. Most of the time, it's going to be a knight per se. We of course we can play this, and then eventually we're going to lose this pawn because we just can't really protect it. And again, like white can actually put a knight on e4 because white have two knights attacking it, and from there, it's really hard to play. So I went for kind of the more modest approach, but very realistic and essentially just a better King's Indian because White already pushed e5, so you know what you're gonna play against. So knight c3, bishop g7, e4, f5. Of course, you know a difference of 0.2 won't really change that much, so I'm gonna kind of just turn that off. Here, um, again, it's the same, so I guess it's fine. I just do bishop takes because it's a developing move, so we might as well just do that. Here, yeah, we should have just played knight to e7. We shouldn't play queen c8 here. Queen c8 is quite passive. Um, I was thinking of like potentially play knight d7, knight c5, but as you saw in the game, I didn't really play knight d7. I ended up just playing knight a6. So I could have just played queen d7, um, which again is actually not even a good option. I should just play knight e7 because if it takes here, we have the option of knight takes, and we don't have to ruin our pawn structure, and we don't have to worry about queen h5 check in the in the short run. So yeah, that was kind of a mistake on my end. So knight f3. And here again, knight f6 is just not a good move. I should just play knight e7. Again, it takes here. Now we take with this, and it's fine. Knight f6 takes, and here we have to take with should take with the pawn. The pawn will take in with the queen. Is I guess knight e4 is not really a problem, but yeah, this is a problem that we need to deal with. And because if we take the queen, we remove the defender over the c7 pawn, and things get very sketchy. So here we can castle, and then castle. Yeah. So here I play h6, preventing knight g5, and I did not realize that f4 is a much better move because it prevents f4. It prevents f4 for white. By us playing f4, we prevent that. I guess if after f4, if we play knight to g5, yeah, nothing crazy. So because again, if knight e6, we're just gonna tuck the rook here. And and the thing with takes is that now we have the rook on the g file, which is much better than our bishop because our bishop is being blocked by our pawn chain. So I didn't realize that part. So king h7. I guess things here are looking like very sketchy. But I mean, I didn't think that this position was like that bad. I guess it was like still playable. Yeah. Okay, yeah. This is mistake, and then rook g7, rook f7. Why is this bad? Yeah, it's this bad because of g4. I forgot that the knight on f6 was doing a great job of preventing g4, but I move it back. So, yep. I mean, I had to move it back anyway because you need to prevent d4, knight d4 ASAP. So that's fair. And then here it's just bad for me. Knight 7. Yeah. Yeah, the rook doesn't really have squares. Oh, yeah, this is just a tactical blunder. I see why. Very fair. Okay, so I kind of messed that up pretty hard, huh? So maybe this is not like the best approach. But hmm. So what it is transposed to? We know what we play in English rat defense, and we kind of transpose this back into a King Sinian. So that's fine. Okay, yeah, I guess it just doesn't really say King Sinian, but we have King Sinian structure over here. So yeah, I think that again, this is just like a big weakness that I need to work on in order for me to get better because I just can't really evaluate these positions very correctly at all. Very correctly. So yeah. Um I think this is just a much shorter video that we have because I just made very bad moves. So hopefully I'll do better next game. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that I can get more chance to explore this opening. I think this is actually a very underrated opening. I just chose the wrong approach into the middle game, and I didn't understand what the plan of the position is. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.